Welcome to our first iconography tutorial on Patreon. Before we get into actually learning to draw and paint icons, we need to understand what the purpose of icons is so that we can understand why they're painted the way they are. The Byzantine manner of painting was developed for a reason, and that is to express the liturgical and ecclesial experience of the Church. God is with us. This is experienced in the Divine Liturgy, when the Holy Spirit comes down upon the holy gifts, transforming them into the body and blood of Christ that we partake of. It is expressed in the architecture of the Church, which is built in the form of a cross in a square with a dome above. The square signifies the earth and created world, and the dome heaven, with the icon of Christ Pantocrator, who came down to earth and became man for our salvation. One hears of icons being referred to as windows to heaven. But this is a Western understanding of images that has only recently infiltrated the Orthodox Church. Icons don't reveal to us another world, the kingdom of heaven, otherwise hidden away. This is characteristic of Western art, that using depth perspective creates a separate world behind the surface of the painting. Just as in the liturgy, we aren't lifted up in some kind of mystical ecstasy into the kingdom to partake of the body and blood of Christ, but rather Christ comes down to us, and we partake of him here and now. Likewise, icons make present Christ and the saints here and now, in the same time and space as the viewer, and make them present and allow us to enter into relationship with them. The Byzantine manner of painting makes this possible through artistic means. This is why icons don't have a background or depth perspective. They're built from the surface of the painting out towards the viewer, and we will be looking at how this is done. In these tutorials, you'll be learning the basics of the Byzantine painting system that will give you the tools to be able to work creatively within the Orthodox tradition. If anyone seriously wants to learn iconography, you need to learn to draw and not simply trace old icons. Making photocopies of old icons is a modern phenomenon that was never part of the tradition of the Church. On the contrary, it destroys the creative tradition of the Church. Every era and school of iconography had its own style, but still used the same Byzantine system. And here I would like to thank my teacher, George Cordes, for teaching me this system that I'm able to pass on to you. The primary element used to make the persons and events depicted present in the same time and space as the beholder is line. It is the Byzantine tradition's use of line that distinguishes it from all others. But if we draw a diagonal line, immediately we get a sense that there is movement, that the line is when we start using transverse lines to draw the same sleeve, then it will start moving off the surface and come to life. It's important in the beginning to practice drawing good fluid lines. You need to be able to draw a good line in order to be able to paint a good line. This is a lifeless line, as is this. This is a fluid, supple line. It takes time to practice. Drawing fluidity is characterized by fluidity, where all the elements in a form flow and interpenetrate the other elements. Nothing is discordant. Here drawn like this. There is no sense of flow in this line, and there are points of conflict here and here. Face, we always start off with an oval, and it's good to practice drawing ovals to get the feel of it, get a sort of oval egg shape. And this oval we divide into three parts. The mouth falls over here, and the lower lip will fall halfway between the nose and the chin. Now this face is drawn in the full frontal pose, and I've drawn it now to show you why we don't draw in the full frontal pose. If you look at it, you'll see that it's very static. There's no movement, it's stuck on the surface of and we draw our oval. And this time we add about 1/8 of the width of the oval on the right hand side. Before we move on to actually drawing the features onto the face, let's just have a closer look at how we draw the eyes and the nose. Starting with the nose, because that's what we'll draw first. Often you'll see beginner iconographers will draw a nose that looks something like this. The problem with this is that it's a straight line and there's no sense of flow and harmony, and it immediately causes discord and attracts the eyes to the viewer's eyes to the nose for the wrong reasons. So we want to create a nose that uses the transverse principle, that uses transverse lines, that has flow and that is harmony. As we've said, the right side of the face is wider than the left. And this creates a movement that the face is actually moving in this direction, to the left. And the iris in the center. As you can see, the hair is also drawn using the transverse principle. Now you can immediately see there's a difference between this face and the one that was in the full frontal pose. There's immediately a sense of movement, both movement and stillness, because the stillness is created by the opposite forces, the opposite movements of the eyes and of the face. What is characteristic of this dynamic frontal pose is that the figure's gaze follows the viewer no matter where he's standing in relationship to the icon. This creates a real sense of presence and a sense that the person depicted is in the same time and space as the viewer, allowing a relationship between them. And in this sense, icons are interactive, because at the same time as you're looking at the icon is looking at you. And it's looking at each person individually and everyone all together.